to Creative Mornings Winnipeg. We are so happy that you're joining us. I'm Kelly Thibodeau, an online marketing strategy consultant and trainer, and your MC for this morning's event. I'm currently joining you from Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji Cree, Dakota, and Dene nations, and the homeland to the Red River Métis Nation. I acknowledge that the water I'm drinking today is sourced from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation, and the electricity that powers my home and yours is from Treaty 5, if you're joining here locally. We'd love you to introduce yourself in the chat and tell us where you're coming from today. And we also want to know, do you know any Winnipeg urban legends? Our theme this morning is folklore, and we want to know what urban legends or Winnipeg folklore do you remember? So while you're telling us that, you'll see lots of things going on in the chat. Really encourage your participation today. I'd like to send a special thank you and shout out to RRC Polytech and their American Sign Language class for providing interpretation for our events. At Creative Mornings Winnipeg, we get to celebrate the musical talent in Manitoba by having a musician perform for us. And this month, we get to hear from Sierra Noble. After hearing from our musician, you'll be invited to join a table group to participate in an activity on the theme of folklore. After 8 minutes at our tables, we'll invite you back to the main stage to hear from today's speaker, Segun Olude. Before we go any further, please note Creative Mornings are recorded by video and photography and will be used in our social media and websites. So by attending our event this morning, you agree to having your image, video, and chat comments recorded. If this is your first time to AirMeet, welcome. And this will also be the last time that Creative Mornings Winnipeg is on AirMeet. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what's happening next month. But for today, you might have noticed that when you entered, you landed in this area called the Social Lounge. This is a place where you can hang out and meet new people at virtual tables. When you're in the Social Lounge, feel free to take a seat at any table by clicking the Take a Seat button. Be sure to turn on your camera and your microphone using the controls at the bottom of the screen. You'll then be able to only see and hear the people who are seated at your table. Folks at other tables can't see or hear you. And if you want to step out of the table, click on the X button at the top right corner of the window and you'll be back in the main room with many tables to choose from. So keep an eye out for the general chat on the right side. That's where we'll post any announcements or reminders. And when the presentation is on, you'll see our stage come right onto your screen, just like right now, and you won't be able to see or hear your table mates. Your sound and your video are automatically turned off when you're watching the main stage. So if you need to fold some laundry, itch your nose, enjoy the last cup of coffee, pet your dog, look at the amazing hoarfrost out the window, nobody will know. So until we go back to the table groups, you're off camera. So before we continue today, please also remember to join us in April. So here's what's happening. We're going to be meeting in person on the global theme of Kismet. We are so excited that for the very first time, Creative Mornings Winnipeg will be hosting its first in-person event. As you know, our group started in January 2021, and we've been online ever since. So we can't wait to meet everybody in person. This event will be held at the stunning new RRC Polytech Exchange District building, Manitou Abibi Dazige, at 319 Elgin Street. And for those who prefer a virtual event, we'll also be live streaming the event on our CM Winnipeg Facebook page. However, we won't be moderating the stream, so you'll be able to watch the event and the speaker, but we won't be having a separate chat functions or breakout rooms like we're doing right now online. At our first in-person event, we'll be welcoming special guest Amanda Boozy. Amanda is the CEO and Chief Creative Officer of Colin Canary, and her creative efforts with Colin Canary have been featured in numerous national and international media outlets, including Forbes, the Grammy, Oscar, Emmy, and Golden Globe swag bags. The Globe and Mail, Good Morning America, Cameron Diaz's The Body Book, Style at Home, Canadian Living, and many more. Amanda lives and breathes creativity and brings design brilliance to every aspect of business and life. This quality was a keystone in growing her brand from a $40 investment to becoming a multi-million-dollar business. Amanda will be joining us with a talk that poses the questions, when your life collapses, How do you move forward? When everything you thought you wanted suddenly shatters, what are your next steps? Amanda will share how this collapse changed her perspective and gave her the opportunity to rebuild a life of her own design using $40, a lot of creativity, and the power of listening to her intuition. Amanda will share her story as inspiration to live fearlessly and recognize your worth on the path to personal success and becoming the truest version of yourself. The tickets are available now on the Creative Mornings Winnipeg website, so don't forget to register after today's event. Before we dive in, we want to say thank you to our global and local partners. Without them, we wouldn't get to do this fabulous work in building a community of creativity in Winnipeg. Thank you to our global partner, MailChimp. MailChimp, you might recognize the woman in that photo. MailChimp has just published an article on 25 big lessons from small business. Life has thrown some pretty big curveballs recently. MailChimp spoke to inspiring small business owners from Accra and Colombo to Copenhagen and Bangalore about important business decisions they've been making during these turbulent times. Discover what they learned along the way, including how to build a founding team, dealing with competitors, and create an inclusive company. Check out the article at MailChimp. We'll put a link in the chat. Thank you as well to our local partners. As you can see, these awesome partners on our screen right now. To our Creative Mornings Winnipeg Steering Committee, thank you for your hard work in putting together these events every month. Thanks, team. And now it's time for some wonderful local music thanks to our partnership with Manitoba Music. We have a special performance by Sierra Noble. The Winnipeg singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer released their first album of traditional Métis fiddle music as a teenager. Over the course of 3 albums, Noble honed their skills as a songwriter while garnering widespread attention, which led them to opening for Paul McCartney, Bon Jovi, and Johnny Reid, and a featured performer for the 2010 Winter Olympics opening ceremony. After years of performing and recording music that wasn't reflective of their identity or lived experience, Noble took a lengthy hiatus to regroup, recharge, and begin to rewrite their story with renewed passion and truth. Sierra Noble is back now as an artist with messages of strength, resilience, and freedom from the box they were once kept in. They have been finding their voice and taking back control of their journey. Noble's message is refreshing at a time when underrepresented voices need to be heard. During this first song, called Coming Home, we invite you to get up and move your body and release something you're holding on to. You can dance, jump, sway, shake, do whatever serves you this morning. And let's take it away with Sierra Noble.
I wasn't born
the end of the event. I hope that you got up and moved a little bit and enjoyed that music. So each month, Creative Mornings chapters share a global theme and reflect and contemplate. And March's theme is folklore. Our Guatemala City chapter chose this month's exploration of folklore, and Sarah Ortega illustrated the theme. The universe is vast and full of mysteries. We spin stories to answer these mysteries without answers. As these stories are passed down and among communities and families, they become folklore. For your breakout conversation, we invite you to share a folklore story or your favorite mythical creatures from your own culture or community or family. I reflected on this theme this morning and I couldn't really think of those kinds of stories in my particular family. I have a British background, but I definitely think of stories of what the people who came before me went through. So, an example that I would love to share is my grandmother was a war bride, came over from England. She actually was a bit of a rebel. She was engaged to another man, broke off the engagement, and fell in love with my grandfather. And had a baby while she was in England and then had to face a long voyage by boat with a toddler while being completely seasick at the same time. And I think about the courage that took for her to come to Canada. And I wouldn't be here today without her bravery. So for this, you're going to be in groups for 8 minutes, and then we'll bring you back to the main event. And if you're not sure about sharing right now, we invite you to break out of your comfort zone and remember how being engaged in our activities can have a positive impact on others. You never know what impact you might have on somebody else today. In the social lounge, feel free to take a seat at any table by clicking Take a Seat. If you're able and comfortable, turn your camera and microphone on using the controls at the bottom of the screen. We'll provide a 2-minute warning before we invite you to come back to the main stage, and then we'll welcome our speaker. You can leave your table anytime and head back to the main room by hovering over the X at the top right corner of the table window and clicking Leave Table. So get out there, meet some new people, have some fun, and share some stories. We'll see you soon. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great time and shared some interesting stories with folks around the table. And we'd love to see some of those stories coming into chat or a great conversation that was sparked and, just the things that you shared with each other and hope that you had a good chance to connect. So I'm really pleased to introduce Kat, a member of one of our partners, Relish Branding, and one of our steering committee members to share our Creative Mornings Manifesto and introduce our speaker for today. Take it away, Kat.
Thank you. So, Creative Mornings chapters around the world not only celebrate creative talent, but also promote an open space to connect with like-minded people. Creative Mornings is guided by a powerful manifesto, which we read at every event. So here's the manifesto. Everyone is creative. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things that you love. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections, in learning from others, in jazz hands, virtual claps, and virtual snaps. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world. Everyone is welcome. Our hearts are really hurting for what's happening in the Ukraine right now. We have 3 chapters in Ukraine, and the Creative Mornings headquarter community team have been in touch with them. They're currently doing okay, and when we asked them what they needed, they recommended that you support your choice of organizations, such as the Canadian Red Cross, and also sent some organizations that we can work through to help out. You can see a list of those organizations on the Creative Mornings website blog. And this is the this is where we come to the statement of diversity and inclusion. The Winnipeg chapter has also made a commitment to reflecting diversity and ensuring inclusion for our events. Located in one of the most diverse communities in North America, we are as inclusive as we are creative, and we will be creative in order to achieve inclusion. We believe in the value of diversity of perspectives, audiences, and industries as we create safe events to debate and discuss what it means to be creative. We will celebrate multiple approaches and points of view, and we will be mindful and purposeful in building a culture where these differences are not only valued, but also celebrated. And now, I am very pleased to welcome our speaker for today, Segun Olude. Segun is a seasoned graphic design professional who has developed personal, professional, and institutional brands and identities. His portfolio includes editorial designs, event branding, promotional materials, signage, packaging, and communication materials for various agencies and NGOs. As a design educator, Segun's dossier as a sessional instructor at the University of Manitoba includes curriculum development and teaching subjects such as graphic design studio, history of visual communication, and design theory and criticism. He helps build capacity for service to humanity through professional design seminars at universities, polytechnics, and public venues around Nigeria and virtual presentations to a worldwide audience. Shikun is also involved in various community initiatives around Canada, using his knowledge to empower BIPOC youth and others in their chosen education and career path. Described as a brilliant communicator, Shikun speaks about human rights, decolonizations, indigenous Yoruba language, and various aspects of Black history to a worldwide audience. So welcome, Shagun. The stage is yours.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here, and it's a wonderful morning. Apologize for the little technical mistake there. I'm going to go right away, share my screen as I talk through and go through my presentation this morning. So hopefully everything works well and there are no glitches. I'm going to share screen. I'm selecting my window. And I believe you can see my window now. So I'm going to go to my full presentation. So here we are. This morning I'm speaking to you in English and you can hear me. You can hear me because we have a common language that we call English. And thank you for interpretation for those who cannot participate that way. But yes, English is the language of conquest from where I come from. It's the language of commerce. It's a language that went around the world, literally, wiping other folklore and languages out. And in that space is where I grew up, in Lagos, Nigeria. I was already a designer, and I got to a point that I needed further education, and I came to Canada. In the space of being in Canada, I have gone through being a student, being an employee, to being an employer, and going through the cycle once again, for good reason. I honed my skill. I knew about Bauhaus. I knew about Victorian style. I knew about all these movements, and they influenced the work that I did, from CD covers to event branding to editorial designs for magazines. And Anna Magazine, for instance, was that one space where I had full expression to what I thought graphic design should be. It's a bit of Swiss, it's a bit of modernist. And I actually had full control over everything that happened in the magazine, from sketching what a page would look like to what it would become. I had full reign to selecting the type and working with fantastic people, photographers, food stylist, the publisher, and it was a great time. I also love seeing concepts become reality in very slow, simple steps. My world of design was very Western, and I've had opportunity to also create brands for different events and concerns for NGOs, as you've heard in the introduction, and I've done so many pieces of identity work over the years. And I kept doing that and getting better at it until one day I landed at Vermont College of Art. See, every 12 to 15 years, I'll go back to school to learn something new, I thought. And in the course of conversation with one of my advisors, she said, "You've got graphic design down. Why don't you study narrative?" And I thought, what narrative? No. But long story short, I did. And I came back at the end of semester to tell them about what I had learned. And her comment was, "You've told us about all the indigenous peoples in North America. You've told us about the indigenous peoples and their folklore and their stories and storytelling and songlines in Australia. You've talked about people from the Middle East, but you never said anything about your own culture. So why don't you take time and do that?" And I thought, well, this is going to be really easy. But once I started the process, I realized, oh my goodness, I knew nothing about my language. So I'm going to go to where I am now and then come back a bit to tell you more about what I learned along the way. There's an adage that I've never knew about because I didn't speak Yoruba growing up that says, "Odo tí ó bá gbàgbé orísun rẹ̀ yóò gbẹ." A river that forgets its source will dry up. And that about sums everything up. That if we forget the stories, we start to forget who we are. And I went back to my childhood when I would ask my mother a question and she would go into her trunk box, something that looked similar to this. She will pull something out, an object or a piece of fabric, and say, "This belonged to your great grandmother. This was given to you as a gift when somebody important came to visit." And she'll tell all these stories. So that gave me a starting point for the gathering of these stories. And the Yoruba lifestyle covers every aspect of life, of course, from birth to death, from your naming to your childhood, to where you live, to the time you grow up, to the time you become adult enough to get married, and life goes on unto death. So that's one of the frameworks. And of course, there was the far past, the present, and the future. The future, of course, is unknown, but they have so many adages and so many stories and folklore that are embedded with things that remind us who we were, what the origins of the Yoruba people are, what it means to have an abuile or family compound, which was like your permanent home address. So you meet somebody and they say, "Oh, you're from Abeokuta. So what compound are you from?" So I learned that those aspects of storytelling and folklore. I learned about marriage in a new way, not just assuming or basing my knowledge on the assumptions that I had before. I learned about the proverbs. I learned about how the words are constructed. And here is where it got interesting. Yoruba has been printed before, but mostly with presses, where they select the type and so on. So the old books have all the accent marks and all the diacritics, but the new books are missing those. So I took it upon myself to create typeface that would represent properly the language. And for the first time, I knew that January actually had a name in Yoruba, which is Shere, and February is Erele. And I learned all those words and names anew because all of these are part of our folklore and our stories. You see, the stories are like strings, and when you weave them together, they form a basket or a container that carry knowledge, knowledge of herbs, knowledge of how to live, knowledge of how to behave, how to be a good member of society, and all of that. And for me, all that was lost. So this is a time to recapture what I had lost, finding all these nuggets. For instance, any bari oku ikanile tiotani ikwa ikadimeji. Very simple. Don't be mean because somebody is down, whether they were good or bad. Don't be mean. Or who is the mean one now? So I found that the folklore had all these pieces that, when woven together, make big stories. And today I have a story box. It is physical. In my story box, I have a dictionary of the Yoruba language. I have the history of the Yoruba as written by Samuel. I have a book, Iwosan, which contains cures and herbal remedies for everything under the sun, under the Yoruba sun. And my story box has a photograph of my father, who was the king of the tribe. My story box has a photo of my mother, has a photo of my wife's mother, my grandmother, because she was a high chief of the formidable Eba tribe. And so I'm collecting all these pieces in my story box because I want to tell the stories. I want to share the folklore. So my job today seems to be gathering and preserving the oral histories because we didn't have writing. I want to collect those personal stories and images of Yoruba people around the world. And now it's become posters, it's become a book. I'm looking at words that look similar but have different meanings. And all of that I never knew before, I have a responsibility now to share with others. Why is cloth or clothing important in folklore? What is the place of the moon in our stories? Why do we have so many folk tales that talk about the elephant or the tortoise or different animals? And I go back to the story box again, to the containers in our culture, the pots that hold water, the importance of water, the pots themselves. What kinds of pots are they? So you need to know all these things to really, truly enjoy the folk tales. And in 2017, I had the opportunity to come together with the community here in Winnipeg for an exhibition where we had fun for 2 months. We had storytelling, we had head tie tying, we tasted food, we listened to dramas, we had opportunity to go into this gallery that was now a story box where people met with their grandkids and told them stories about being Yoruba. And we brought friends, we brought orators, we brought storytellers and people who told us how important taking care of yourself is in Yoruba culture, whether it's through fashion, whether it's through your keeping a good, healthy regimen, and all these things that we could have lost. So when you hear the story of the tortoise and moi moi is the image of this bean cake in the center of your screen right now. What does it mean? It's one of the most delicious foods you can taste. And our friend Rachel made a lot for us during that time. And we enjoyed all these foods, not because we just wanted to enjoy them for the enjoyment's sake, but because they're all parts of the stories of our folklore. And why is it important to preserve our languages and our cultures? We don't want to lose all the old knowledge that we've had passed down through generations just because we could not write our language. And now that we have written form of communication and ways of recording them, what is your story box going to be? Would it be a book? Would it be a piece of music? Would it be a physical box that contains objects? Would it be a PDF of the stories that you've heard, that you've recorded? What would your story box be? And I ask again as I close, what is in your story box? Thank you so much for this morning. Ẹ ṣeun púpọ̀. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and come back into the room.
Thank you so much again. I just really loved seeing the journey of, how you discovered more about your own language and culture and the richness, and that you didn't just do that for yourself, but you brought that to the community and helped other people reconnect with their roots and their story and feel home. It's really, really meaningful. And thank you so much for being part of Creative Mornings this morning. So we have a few minutes. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. We have a few minutes for Q&A for our speaker. So please put them in the Q&A tab right there, and we'll pick them up from there. Okay, first one. Segun, Christine is asking, love to hear more of the Yoruba language. Would you be willing to introduce yourself in Yoruba or anything else you'd like to share in Yoruba?
Absolutely. At one time, I'll be shy to do this because we in my generation and the way we were brought up would have said, oh, this is not cool. It's illiteracy. But having learned everything about the culture and embracing it and learning the deeper Yoruba language, I'm going to introduce myself now. Orúkọ mi ni Segun Olude, ọmọ ọba Olude àti ayaba Olude tó wá láti ìlú Ìmáṣàyí ní ibi tí à ń pè ní Yewa. So what I've said is that I am Segun Olude, the son of the king and the Olori, which is the king's wife from Ìmáṣàyí in Yewa of Yoruba land.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much. I could just listen to you over and over and over again. You just have such an amazing presence and a deep resonant voice. And thank you for sharing that with us this morning. Really, really appreciate it. One more question. So curious about how large the Nigerian community is in your area, in our area. So in Winnipeg.
In this city here. At the last count, which was informal, we have a couple of thousand adults and several children. So many families have come to settle in this place. And we have a growing community that if we had to count everybody, I would say we're roughly, probably in the thousands, maybe 6,000.
Wow. Incredible. Yeah. Okay, another question. Do you have hope for the preservation or even resurrection of languages given the advances in technology like Live Translate?
Thank you. I've written to companies like Apple. I've written to Microsoft over the years, trying to get them to do a system level Yoruba interpretation. Actually, surprise, surprise, Google has done a lot of work on world languages, and I would encourage you to, take a look at that when you have a moment. And some of this is coming live stream now through Google Translate and some other software trying to do that. We have someone who has developed the Yoruba keyboard. And when I type in Yoruba, I use that one. In my own corner, I'm still collecting stories through recordings that are going to be put together and shared, whether through social media or we'll have a repository in the cloud somewhere so that they can be accessible before the stories are gone. So there are so many approaches that I think we can take for the preservation of languages, not just Yoruba, but every language. I might take this opportunity to talk about extinct languages where the languages are just gone. There's nobody speaking those languages. And then there is the dying or dead languages where the people who should be speaking the language are alive, but they don't speak their language. So this is one of the last opportunities for us. And this is not a common problem to just the Yoruba, but all over Africa and some parts of Asia, as far as my research has been. We need to use every tool we can.
Yeah. Yeah, so important. Yeah, thank you. So another question, how do you overcome the difficulty of sharing the nuance of language and words to others when you're sharing your story or folklore?
I think for me, having to relearn the language and not assume that I knew everything because I grew up in that place. Of course, I could hear people talking in the language. I never used it in any of my schooling. But coming back, I feel like I'm a curator and an interpreter. First, gather the stories, look at all the threads in the story, what makes up that story, and then interpret in English, taking only the important parts. And also, I know that folklore, Yoruba folklore especially, has aspects sometimes that could be tribalist or racist or sexist. So those parts I choose to edit out because it's not going where I'm going now. We live in a world that is very diverse today, and there's no point, rehashing those things. So it takes careful curation, understanding the strands and the threads in the stories, and then coming to speak of those stories and tell them in a way that it's meaningful today.
Yeah, thank you for acknowledging that in your discovery and rediscovery of Yoruba language and your work to make that language reflect the inclusivity and the diverse place that our world is today. Thank you. Another question. So, do you mind me asking how old you are? Is lack of language learning common amongst your age group or class or locality?
I would say I'm not 59. If that answers the question. So in my generation, we were brought up to be very British. The more British you were, the more opportunities there were for you. You could get good jobs, you could get, doors open to you. And so every parent put money and time into training their kids to be not like them. Mm-hmm. And so a whole generation of us missed out on learning the language. We just assumed we knew the language for the little ones that we spoke in communication around the community. But to really truly understand, many of us missed out. And in my research, I find people sharing the same regret that we never took it that important. Because now when we know how rich the language is and what the content of the stories are, we're all trying very hard to come back to a place where we understand it enough to start passing it on to those coming behind. And I'm very open to engaging with any institution or individual who would like more conversation around this subject.
Great. Thank you so much. And I'll just ask you for me. So what inspired you to create a book and to have a vehicle to share that, document and share it?
I think being a graphic designer and always wanting to create posters and books and things like that was not too far from my mind. After all, I went for my master's to do a master in graphic design. The first one that I did had nothing to do with that. It's, just called advertising design. So this time I'm going to be a master in graphic design. So I had to come out with something, and that was part of the inspiration. But also with books, you don't need electricity to read them. You can pass them on to 40 different people. And that's where I went with that. And today, it's soon going to be on Apple Books and some other digital spaces where you can download them.
Oh, amazing. Well, I can't wait. And if you want to share that with me, we'll make sure to share it with the Creative Mornings community once it's available. I think we have time for one more question. So from Sean Vincent, who's your favorite designer? And Sean's been a Creative Mornings speaker. We're so happy to have him back here today.
You know, in my old life, and I would say probably even now, I really love Stefan Steigmeister as one of the many. But there are many designers that I love. I love his creativity and his way of thinking. So I would go to him as one of the ones, you know, and he can't be the only one, but there are others too. But he comes to mind this morning in the context of what we're doing here. Mm. And when I go to Africa, now that I've reconnected with African designers and storytellers, Saki Mafundukwa would be one person that I would point to in Africa. And I can share a link to his TED Talk sometimes. He's working on African languages and written language.
Oh, amazing. Yes, thank you. I see there's some links coming into the chat too. So maybe as we're closing out, if you want to put some stuff in the chat, that would be amazing. So thank you again so much, Segun. And lots and lots of questions still coming in. There's so much interest. So is there a way that people could reach out or connect with you if they're still curious?
The best way is to go to my Instagram page, send me a DM or send me an email. And those, I think, once you type my first name and last name, you'll find me.
Amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you, Mandy. I really appreciate your effort this morning.
Yeah, Mandy's incredible. We're so thrilled that she's able to support Creative Mornings. So thank you. Yeah. What a fabulous discussion. And thanks again, everybody, for taking the time to join us today in Creative Mornings. And I hope you leave energized and inspired. And thanks again to Segun for sharing your story with us. We look forward to seeing you at our Creative Mornings event in April. Remember, we're going to welcome you in person at the RRC Polytech with speaker Amanda Boozy. Again, the tickets for the event are already available, so sign up now and invite your friends. And if you have anything to share with the Creative Mornings Winnipeg organizers, please drop us a note at winnipeg@creativemornings.com. Our final performance from Sierra Noble is her first single in 5 years called Let Me Out of Here. The inspiration for Let Me Out of Here is straight from my darkest places, and they wrote it with collaborator Rusty Matthias. As Noble describes, we wrote this song to tell anyone who has been there or is there now that if you're stuck in the dark, just keep reaching for the light because it is there. Noble sings of smiling through teeth in response to the unwelcomed opinions and judgments of others. But they know what they need: freedom to follow their path and be released from all that's kept them down. And the song's title is their powerful declaration of that. And if you're reaching for your own creative light, please know that this Creative Mornings community is right behind you. After the music plays, we invite you to stick around to chat with our speaker and others after the song ends. It'll be a great opportunity to network and meet like-minded creative people. Have a wonderful weekend. The Creative Mornings Winnipeg crew looks forward to seeing you in person in April.
When I'm all messed up and I shouldn't be alone, I get all dressed up with nowhere at all to go. And everyone's got an opinion to share. share. So I stand there politely, pretending to care. I know what it is I so desperately need. So I smile through my teeth. Someone needs to get me out of here. Oh, let me out of here. When the fire's burned out and I can't find my way around. When I hear things, confusions become my crown.